How do you prioritize your domestic and political responsibilities? And how do you manage your private and your public life? And is it in a state of equilibrium, or is it having a slight tilt, one role over the other? Does this still cause tension?
So many difficult questions.
Should I tell Ashok ji to be here or?
No. I think the thing is this, that first of all, I couldn't do what I've done without the support of family. It's been like a rock to me. 35 years ago when I married Ashok, and he said, you know, what interests do you have? And I thought, should I really tell him? But one thing he knew was that I was somebody who'd constantly campaigned for things. I campaigned against racism, I campaigned against domestic violence. So I'd always done things within the sort of public sphere for a long time. When you become a public servant, you know, and I'm sure you have worked it out too, that suddenly you don't have a private life anymore. You become the servant of the public, and it's a 24-hour job. But it was a compromise Ashok and I made. We made it on the basis that we have enough strength in our own relationship to know that actually changing others' lives for the better actually strengthens our own lives. And we have two fabulous children, Tamanna, our daughter, and Tarun, our son, who've grown up seeing their parents do what they're doing. And they didn't demand that they needed the food on the table. My husband's never demanded that he needs to have a hot meal waiting for him. I see my husband on the weekends. Monday to Friday, I'm in Parliament. So I call him my weekend husband. But I think the thing is that it's a strength in a relationship. And I've been really fortunate that I have a man who has never felt that he needed to outshine me, and all he needed to do was to be the supportive rod behind me. And when I'm sort of fed up sometimes, and I phone him up and moan that I'm tired and you know, I just want to stop, he'll say, just remember how many people are depending on you. And that sort of brings it back home, that there are still people depending on me. And I'm sure it's the same with you. How do you, just so that she put me on the spot, I'm just going to put her on the spot. How do you manage yours?
Same way, my backbone is standing behind now. Lovely. He's my backbone. You summed up your story with the backbone. You said, he is your strength. So I repeat, he is my backbone, Lovely. What I feel, if you are strong enough within your family, then you can work out, you can work for people. You cannot work outside. You cannot work for people if you are not strong enough within your family. That's more important. So we share the same?
Absolutely.
So tell me something about what you have undertaken in Britain for women empowerment and gender equality, pay and opportunities. You said in the beginning that you have done a lot. In a chronological manner, you can tell us.
When I was growing up, of course in the UK, as you know, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, there were very few people from the Indian community there. So you do battle to position yourself. And the racism was overt. There was, you know, you could be abused quite easily. I remember, you know, as a little child, seeing houses with things in the window saying no blacks, no dogs, and no, there was a third one, I can't remember, whatever, Irish, it was Irish. And so you grew up seeing that visible discrimination. And in the 70s, mid-70s, after we had a great tidal of people coming from East Africa, that racism grew even further. So I, as a teenager, battled with racism. So I knew that I had something that I needed to campaign on even at that young age. Early on in our marriage, I was exposed to just domestic violence one of my aunts introduced me to a woman who'd been thrown out of a bedroom window by her husband. And this woman had nowhere to go, and she said, you know, you need to help her. So then I was exposed to some of the most vile treatment I think one person can inflict upon another. And what I realised was that not everybody's home life was like mine, where I could come home, feel safe, and have a supportive husband. And I turned to our shop and I said, what do I do? This lady has to go to court, but I'm being threatened with acid, I'm being threatened with death, I'm being threatened by all sorts of things. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I feel I need to do it. So he said, are you scared? I said, no. I'm not scared because I have a 6-foot-tall husband. And that was it. And so I decided then that there was something seriously wrong with our society where one human being could inflict so much pain on another human being. And I made it my mission that wherever I found any form of discrimination, and that's any form, that I would find it and really work hard to get other people to fight it too. And my final thing is on discrimination, and I do a plea to your audience here because this is something very personal to me. I'm sick to death of feeling that if you are born within the Indian community, you are born a dark Indian, that suddenly your value within the Indian community and in the level of attractiveness is on the bottom rung. And I know this because when I married Ashok in 1977, our honeymoon was taking place in India. Ashok brought me back to India. And it was the second day, I think, or the third day, somebody from his side, and I say his side, came to see me, and she didn't think I understood Hindi. And I did. And she said to him, you went to England and you came back with a black girl. And it pained me so much that this woman could actually sit there and judge me because of the colour of my skin. I've been fighting racism amongst the white community, and suddenly I came face to face with it amongst the Indian community. And I said to Ashok, right, there's my next battle. And I have raised it at every juncture, that where you can, for goodness sake, beauty is as you are born. It shouldn't be artificially managed because you are dark skinned, that you need to have some cream to make you a fair-skinned person. Let's get rid of the sort of colonial mindset that everybody needs to be of a particular hue. If you're born fair-skinned, I mean, my husband is incredibly fair-skinned, but it doesn't make him any less or any more attractive than somebody who isn't. And I think, I know I'm going on a bit about this, but this is really, really bothers me, because I still come to this country and I still see adverts on the television promoting fair skin, when, to be quite frank, this country is full of the most beautiful people of all colours, and we should celebrate all colours. In England, I say to people, you spend thousands of pounds trying to get like me on tanning beds, for God's sake. I've been gifted with this. I should be proud of it. Sorry, I went on a bit. I do apologise. Shall I tell you the one thing I would always say to those of you in India, those of us outside of India, feel incredibly proud when India is doing well, because it makes us feel stronger in ourselves. I remember a time when people used to come from India to England and feel that they were perhaps in awe of what they found. Now I find the young Indian comes from India incredibly confident. It gives us a confidence. The Indian community needs to value its diaspora, because the diaspora really does value its relationship and connection with India. And I think it's so important that we don't lose that connectivity with our next generations, because our next generations need to feel as closely connected as I do with India. And I think our strength is interdependent on each other. I always say that when an Indian person comes here, please value them as much as any other foreigner. Treat them the same when they enter your customs. Don't feel that you need to differentiate between them and anybody else, because they really do hold up your flag in their own countries. That is my honest plea to everybody here and to whoever I can send this message out to.
It's a very acute stage where the youth is coming up in front. Do you think the role of politician and common man is undergoing a substantial change in our country? And how you are feeling? What are the changes?
I think across the world what we've seen is the one thing that the new social media has done is to be able to generate a connectivity with each other very quickly. And recent events, they are incredibly sad events that have happened with the young girl in Delhi. But unfortunately, they're not isolated events. They are events that go on across the globe. And the one thing that we've known from whether it's the Arab uprising to whether it's the protests that are going on in India today, the young people are at the heart of leading from the front. And I think young people should be congratulated for actually igniting the consciences of countries. It's the same across the world. I think it's crucial. I was a youngster when I got involved in campaigning. I think it's really crucial. The thing now is it's easier because we can do everything so much easier through the internet and online. But the one thing I would say though is don't let go once you've started a campaign. Unfortunately, campaigns last a very, very long time. And they need commitment. Because for changes to happen, mindsets need to change. And they take much longer than just a protest march. However important the protest march is, but mindsets need to change. And I think that's the key to how we change society.